Hi, welcome to Dreaming of Chess Mastery. I'm Neil Priest, and this is my YouTube channel that delves into the world of adult chess improvement. No boards in sight, no specific chess move content. You know where to find that, I'm sure. This channel looks at things from a psychological, philosophical, even pedagogical perspective. Now, very often I take a lead from the content in any given week from something I've seen on YouTube. I see a lot of stuff on YouTube, far too much stuff, if truth be told. But this week there was a short reel, whatever they call them, with dear old Levy, Gotham Chess, about the three big things that beginners are doing wrong, something like that. And the third point, this was the one that really resonated with me because I think it's a thing that most of us, beginners, advanced, or anywhere in between, are doing wrong. And it is that we focus far more on our plans and ideas rather than our opponents. Now, that doesn't come as a surprise to you. You know that. Of course you do. Because we get caught up, wrapped up in our hopes and fears. It's the human condition. You're in a position, you see something interesting, and you get excited. Or alternatively, you're in a position and there's something worrying you and you just tunnel in on that. But actually, what we really need to do is essentially ask two simple questions. The first is a question we ask before considering literally every one of our moves. What does my opponent want to do? Now that is prompted by their previous move. They've done something. Why? What are they trying to do? What new horizons has that opened up? And of course, you can contextualize that in a more general view that you build up over the course of the game, as to what the big picture sort of desires of your opponent might be. So that's the starting point. Before we think about what exciting opportunities are open to us, we need to consider what is our opponent trying to do. And the second question is, when we've done all our analysis, we've answered that question, we've thought about our candidate moves and formulated some sort of plan, or perhaps it's a quicker process because this is, of course, something that is ongoing, so maybe it's just the second move in a sequence. But before making the move, one has to ask the big question, how does this change the board? What could my opponent do now? Perhaps in an almost brute force way. The much maligned, sometimes controversial, I don't know why, checks captures threats. But at the very least, when we make a move, we should ask ourselves, does this open the way for any new check, capture, or threat by my opponent that wasn't available before that move? And these two questions really do need to be asked every single time. And if you're anything like me, and I'm not a bad chess player, I don't think, in the broad scheme of things. Certainly on chess.com, I'm in the sort of more rarefied air rather than in a vast pool of novices. Far from it. I've been playing chess, I guess, for the best part of 50 years. So I'm a decent enough chess player, and yet only yesterday I played a rapid 15-10 game, and if I'm being truly honest, why did I lose the game? Because I got caught up with my plans in that position, and I didn't really ask myself in the opening what my opponent could do in terms of replying to my moves. It was shocking, actually. I went into a bit of a pause there because just astonishing. Actually, that's another thing that we all need to do and commit to, something that Grandmaster Avatic, Chess Mood, suggested. Chess Mood, well, that's the clue. Play when you're in a good mood, or the right mood, the right frame of mind. I wasn't yesterday. I was distracted and tired, so I played quickly, I thought lazily. And the end result was I didn't give due consideration to what my opponent could do. And I paid the price. I resigned in 20 moves. And there was really no need for it. So that is something that we need to do more, I suspect all of us, than we are currently doing. But how? How do we make something that we know we should be doing something that is almost subliminal? One way I would suggest is that we need to do training exercises, activities, where we do that in a very manual, methodical way. And I can suggest at least 3 activities. One is obviously solving exercises and problems. Not, I have to stress, puzzles. Puzzles are ones where you know something's there and it forces you, whether you like it or not, to think down a particular line. I mean, there are a few books that are different. Ray Cheng's book, or I forget, Practical Chess Problems. I don't know. I really have no idea what it's called. I think the author is Ray Cheng. He was an amateur, an adult chess improver, and he compiled a book with 600 puzzles of varying degrees of difficulty, but in truth, not just puzzles. There were books that require exercises that required you to simply find the best solid move of a positional nature. There were positions that required you to make the first key move in a sort of endgame strategic plan. And of course, there were actually puzzles as well, where there was a tactical sequence that you had to unearth. But you didn't know. So that book is great for that reason, that it's much more like a real game. But there are other books, sort of more compilations of training exercises. And I think those are interesting because they will force you down the line of how you might think in the sorts of positions that we find difficult when we're actually playing. Then there is the Play Grandmasters, Guess the Move, Chess Solitaire sort of idea. I think that is an excellent way where you can play what is essentially a proper game, but ask yourself these key questions and don't just limit yourself to 2 or 3. Make a list in some sort of descending order of priority. And before every move, consult your list. Look at the position and think of it in terms of that list. And do it on every move. And if you want something where it's a little bit more your own game rather than someone else's, take the same approach to daily chess games. Play a daily chess game where initially, before you go into the sort of analysis that you might normally do, moving the pieces around and such, take the board position, set a timer for 15 minutes, and do a rigorous questions and answers, write down the variations sort of analysis. Do it for every position. And, if eventually pride gets the better of you and you don't want to risk missing something, you can check that afterwards, check your analysis on the computer's analysis board, or not, if you're a little bit more willing to take a risk and treat it very much as a training exercise where sometimes you will pay a heavy price for a mistake. But what I'm sort of emphasizing is that we need to do activities where we consciously, consistently, conscientiously, in a sort of overkill way, rigorously analyze all the possibilities and ask ourselves the right questions on every move. Don't cut any corners, however trivial it might seem. And I think that if you do that, and I think, certainly Grandmaster Ramesh suggests this in one of his books, that if you do this consistently enough, it will eventually become something that is almost an unconscious quick scan after your opponent makes his move and before you sign off on a move and commit it to the board. But what we do need to do is address the question of taking our opponent's ideas, hopes, and dreams more seriously. We need to take that into account far more than we currently are. And this doesn't actually, we're adult chess improvers, this doesn't actually involve us becoming more knowledgeable or skillful, in a sense, at chess. It does involve us becoming a better chess player, because it involves us becoming a more complete thinker. So that's it for this week. Let me know what you think in the comments below, if I'm wildly off the mark, or if you've got a better suggestion as to how to deal with this question. Be that as it may, I'd love to hear from you. Otherwise, I do hope you're enjoying your chess. And until next week, from a sunny Brazil,